time. You'll see I'm not alone today. I've got an actor who is originally from Olive Branch, Mississippi. He just had his first leading role in a Hallmark movie, Spring Breakthrough, which we're excited to learn more about. Welcome, Akono Dixon. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I am glad we got the technical difficulties out of the way, so I appreciate you hanging in there with us. But where you call home now?
Well, right now, everywhere. How much I'm traveling, everywhere is home at this moment.
Well, that's definitely a good thing. So I know
Yes.
your roots are still here in Mississippi, or that was originally home in Olive Branch. So when did you get the acting bug? When did you say, you know what, this may be for me?
Yes, Rebecca. So, when I was 5 years young, I was watching a Fruit Roll-Ups commercial, and I knew I wanted to act. But I believe when I really got the acting bug, oh wow! I mean, it was a cumulative of a lot of different moments with people coming up to me and me watching movies, But I think it started at age 5 from watching the Fruit Roll-Ups commercial, and yeah, that's when it really started.
You know, I think you're the first to mention a commercial, particularly Fruit Roll-Ups, as sort of, launching them into a career path. But hey, we all have that thing that ignites us and excites us. How did you start from there, though, at 5? Did you start asking your parents to put you in theater? Did you take classes? How did you sort of get your feet wet?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. So my parents didn't really believe in the whole acting thing. I come from a law enforcement and medical family, and they put academics, at number one. So I was always asking them, to go to different auditions and here and there, and I didn't really do much of that. I mean, we went to one little audition thing, but it was more kind of like a scam type of thing, sort of. So, I didn't really start making moves into the industry until I was 18. I turned 18 a day after I graduated high school, and 3 days after that, I moved to New York City. I took my $80 and made it to New York City and just started working from there.
Please tell me that you had like a plan. Did you have somewhere to stay? Did you have friends? Did your mom pack you a lunch? Had you ever flown before? Because that just sounds like something out of a movie.
It really does. I'm actually making a movie about it right now. That's what I've been working on. So I didn't realize it was that of an exciting story. And so everyone is like, oh, my gosh, Akono, you need to write about this. But no, to be completely honest with you, I did have a plan. I did have a model manager at the time, and I knew that they were interested in me, so I went to New York. My mother, she was pretty much, or she did not know that I was going to stay there. She thought I would be there for a couple of days and come back, but I didn't tell her. But I told my dad, I told her I was going to New York for a couple of days, but I went there, and my sister came with me, and when she made it back home to Mississippi and I wasn't with her, she was like, where's Akono? And I'm like, well, hey, Mom, I didn't tell you this because I know you would have done everything in your might to not let me do this. So it was a big dream, a goal of mine that she did not believe in, but now she's my biggest fan, and she is super supportive.
As a mom, though, that can totally understand the fears that your mom would have of sending their child off that way, I would have mad respect for my kid who figured out a way to sort of do it on their own. That would sort of show me as a parent that they were serious about, their dreams. And then you can't help but to support that, right? Like, even though you weren't fully open with her, you did tell somebody. It wasn't like you just snuck out in the middle of the night and never came back. So I could see where your mom was like, okay, he's man enough now, 18, and he's going to give this a whirl. So they call it the jungle, the
concrete jungle.
Yes, the concrete jungle up there for a reason, because it can chew you up and spit you out, right? And so how long were you there, or what were some of the, rockier roads, or maybe not the bad ones, but that got you to your first break?
Yeah, sure. So the first, okay, so there's a little build up to that, Rebecca. So I made it to New York. I actually had around $120, $130 from my pocket. However, I took a Greyhound bus, so by the time I made it to New York, which was a day and a half, and I like to eat, I had $80 to my name. So, I made it to New York, and I thought I would have this place to live at, but apparently that fell through. So I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to live at? And one of the models we were in the same management company at that time, we stayed in these things called model houses, and it just so happened he had a room. He let me sleep on his floor, and he's a brother that I call today. He's pretty much like a big brother of mine. I slept on his floor for 3 months, and coming from a family who has always valued making plans, whether that be financially or any way you can think of, just to have a nice living. And so me coming from that to sleeping on the floor in a hostel that was infested with rats and roaches, and to sleeping on the floor, and to having my parents take away my credit cards. I always tell my friend, #RichKidProblems. But, just from coming from such a good upbringing, then to sleeping with rats and having nothing, but really the only thing I had was just a desire to do great and a desire to be an actor. And I knew nothing was going to stand in my way, and I made that happen. I worked 14, 16-hour shifts, sometimes 18 hours, catering. I would come home, then go straight to sleep, and I would go to auditions and go straight to work for 12 to 16, 18 hours, and do it all over again for, honestly, years. But I slept on the floor for 3 months, and my first gig, my first break, I heard you ask, was so during the time, throughout the whole working and me auditioning and all these things, I was, at the time, looking to get signed to a modeling agency. And a lot of the agencies really liked me. They liked my look, but my height at the time was a big factor, because we were in New York. New York is mainly high fashion. So the guys are usually, 5'11" minimum. And they sometimes don't even take high stature, but it's usually like 6'1" and 3/4, like the perfect height. And I'm 5'9.5" or 5'10". So I remember going to a modeling agency, Rebecca, and I had a few meetings. Sometimes you meet with an agency, sometimes 1 to 3 times. They want to meet you, and sometimes you want to meet them before you sign with them. And I thought they were going to take me on, and then the day came, the last interview, and they told me that they were going to take me on at that time. And during that time, I had no money. I wasn't getting any acting jobs. However, I do have some positive stories about some acting stories with auditions, but I wasn't getting any acting jobs. My parents weren't believing in me. My good friends weren't talking to me. I guess a lot of them thought I was making a horrible choice with, going to school. Stopping school. And so it was really hard, mentally. But I had this one audition right after the interview with the modeling agency, and I almost didn't go, but I went, and I did the audition. And I actually went home for a couple of weeks because everything became too much. And while I was at home, I'm literally right across from the room where I got the call. Well, I got the email from the director from the audition I went to, and he said, "Hey, Akono, we would love to invite you to a callback for the film." And at this time, Rebecca, I've never gotten a callback in my entire life, for on this type of level. And I told them, "Hey, I'm in Mississippi, so I'm not in New York right now, but I will be there in the next week." And the director said, "Hey, Akono, actually the role is yours if you want it. You were the perfect Spam." And so that was my first role. It was in a student film, and Max Sealer was the first person to put me in my first project. So I owe a lot to him, and that was my first gig. So thank you, Max.
Did you run through the halls screaming, "Mom, I got a job"?
I did. It was really exciting. And then that kept leading to more roles and TV shows and commercials, and I just haven't stopped since. It's 2015.
Well, I love that, but I love you still come back and you visit with your family. Obviously, I also love, Akono, that's where you got your first good news of your break, but that's not your last big break. You've had another one come up, so y'all hang with us. We got more with Akono Dixon coming up next. Come and meet your new favorite actor from Mississippi, Akono Dixon. He's originally from Olive Branch, Mississippi, and he just landed his first leading role in a Hallmark movie, Spring Breakthrough. through. And Akono, if I am correct, it's already been out, right? Like it was earlier this summer that you already had the moment the movie's been released, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was such a fun time. Yes, the movie came out April 30th, and it's been life-changing. It's been completely amazing.
So can we still watch it, though? Can we still catch it on Hallmark if we want to, or stream it somewhere if we hadn't seen it yet?
Yeah, of course. I do believe if you do have the Hallmark app or the Hallmark streaming service, you should be able to, but correct me if I'm wrong, you should be able to go on there and type in Spring Breakthrough and watch the film. However, this movie has been making its ways through different platforms. At first, it was on Peacock, and now it's on other platforms. So I would say best bet is to go onto Google and type in where can I watch Spring Breakthrough, or just type in watch Spring Breakthrough online, and hopefully I'm sure there will be different platforms where you can watch movie on, because it's been changing about every couple of weeks with different platforms. Haven't been able to keep up with that.
So now you get to use the words leading man or leading role in your, I guess, resume, or however you actors and actresses sort of do it. So what does this do? What does this mean for your career? What is that shift from being a supporter actor or just having a good role in a movie versus they are labeling you as like a leading part? What does that kind of mean to your career?
So, well, first, I'd love to tell you what it means to me. Rebecca, for me to be a leading man, to be seen as a leading man and portray a leading man role now, and hopefully further down the line even more, it's a confirmation that dreams do come true and that affirmations work, and believing in your stuff works. I've been in this mindset of, I'm a leading man, walking like a leading man, how I envision a leading man would walk, how his actions will be, how will he talk, how is his discipline, how are his disciplines, how disciplined is he, and just how is the life with being a leading man actor, because I think it's more than just, hey, I'm a leading man in a movie, just saying that. I think there's so much more, and it's been a really life-changing experience for me, too, just on a personal level as well as a career and business level. And to answer your question, how it has affected how being a leading man has affected me in my career now. I'm being offered roles now, which is really amazing. I'm still auditioning, but I'm being offered roles, just handed to me in their leading man roles. And it's so amazing, Rebecca, because I love being a leading man. I love being at the forefront of a ship, and taking care of my soldiers, taking care of my family, taking care of my country. And that's kind of the responsibility I give myself. And that's how I see it. So, it's opening a lot of doors for me. It's gained me, a lot of other directors and producers and writers, their respect for me has risen, and that's just being completely honest. I'm being contacted more. I'm getting responded back to by, really, really respected people in the business. So it's an experience that I'm still in. So that's how I can explain it now, So I'm sure there'll be more I can explain later down the road once I'm, really just,
How old are you now, Akono? From 18 to going to New York, how old are you today?
Oh, I just turned 29 in May.
So almost a decade of grinding, right? And I know you've been steadily working, but thinking back to how it all first began, you mentioned, not having less than $100 in your pocket, having to sleep on floors, grinding those 18-hour shifts. Would you trade that for anything now? Are you grateful that maybe it didn't happen for you out the chute, that you kind of had to go through, the harder time to get to where you are now? Maybe not, but sometimes, it puts things in perspective once you reach a higher mountain, I think is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's a really great question, Rebecca. And I know, the typical answer would be to say, yes, I'm glad it didn't happen. I'm glad it happened later. I think that's a typical answer most people would give. But to be completely honest with you, I don't know that answer. I really don't. But what I will say is that I'm so glad that I was able to experience everything I experienced because and this may sound cheesy, but it really made me who I am today. Just, the heartbreaks, just not being around family, not being around friends, and having more gratitude for even having $2 in my pocket, having gratitude to having food and just friends. And I mean, I'm so much more grateful for life itself and for things and people a lot more than when I was a kid, because I did have a lot of things handed to me. I had a very sheltering, very blessing, nice upbringing. So I'm glad that I did go through those things. I really am. It really made me to this awesome of a human being that I am today. So I am grateful for it, yes.
I'm happy for you, too, because, I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but I think anybody who's reached a level of success had to sort of claw their way there, tend to stay grounded and stay in it a little bit longer, right, for the long road. And as a parent, you kind of want you want to shelter your kids and give them that great upbringing, but there's also that piece of you that hopes that they can grit and grind for something they want, and they have to figure out what it is that they want. You don't want them to struggle if they don't have to for basic necessities if not needed, but it's also okay if that's what they're going after, their dreams, and they're sort of working towards something else. So I can, I mean, as a mom, I speak out of both sides of my mouth, but I can see where the grit and the grind can make you better and for longer in your profession.
Wow, I just have to say, you really seem like a very exceptional person, Rebecca. You really do.
Thank you. I fake it well.
Yes, you really do. You really are. I really love that.
Well, you're getting there, and I think anytime you have to start from the bottom and claw your way up, or people don't believe. Not so much they don't believe in you, but they just are also giving you permission to stop. But then you don't want to because it's something you want, and then you obtain it. It just tastes so much sweeter, and it's self-validation, and it feels like you understand that, and that's what you were sort of reaching for. So I know I get it. I'm sure like the big end game is your name in lights, Hollywood sign, Oscar, sort of all of that. But if you had to pick first your leading role to be like a rom-com, an action movie, a mystery movie, like what are we hoping's the first time we see Akono in the big theater? What would you want? What kind of leading role are you shooting for?
Oh, wow, what a great question. I would love to be a romantic lead who's going through I would love to be a romantic lead in an action film, in an action film that's also a dated film, maybe a BC, or in the 1300s or the 1600s,
like Braveheart?
Something like that. Pardon?
Like a Braveheart, or I was trying to think of.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes, like a modern. I mean, I know I'm saying modern. That's literally like not those are both contrasting, but yes, like a modern day Braveheart, but that's still set in the 1500s. But obviously, it's 2023, so we'll film it with the the cameras and things we have today. But yes, like a Braveheart type of film, maybe mixed with a little Black Panther. Maybe mixed with a little Peter Pan, type of vibe. But I would love to be the next Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I love superheroes. I feel as though I'm naturally a superhero. I felt that before I even knew what that feeling was. I think I have the attributes that can be a really great superhero too. So, but yeah, definitely romantic lead. And
there's plenty of room in the Marvel universe for you, Akono. I don't know it, but we'll find a way. We'll find a role in there for you. But also, do not stop writing your script for your own story, because it is exceptional, and I know it's definitely not over yet. But if folks want to support you, if they want to connect with you online, we're all about cheering for our home team, and so you're going to be a Mississippi boy forever. So where do we connect with you? All the things.
Of course, yeah, definitely. I'm a Mississippi boy forever. So please connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Akono Dixon. I do have Twitter, which is under the same handle. However, I'm a lot more active on Instagram. I'm posting pretty much daily, if not weekly or monthly. But I'm usually on Instagram very heavily. I do my best to respond to everyone. I do have a pretty freaking busy schedule where I kind of like to focus on just, the things at hand, but I do love social media. So, yeah, Akono Dixon on Instagram.
And then search him up on Hallmark. That movie is Spring Breakthrough. That will not be the last time we hear your name, and I hope not the last time you join us here on Good Things. It was a pleasure meeting you.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Rebecca. Have an amazing, exceptional day.
Thank you so much. All right, you guys stick with us. We got a few more good things for you coming up next.